Bula, malo, talofa, namaste, kia. Good day, everyone. Piapa Rawiri, Bishop David from the Diocese of Waipu. Welcome to OMG. It's been a few days. We've been in the wilderness a wee bit, but now we're back, and we look forward to engaging with you again in this social networking, this cyberspace church. Last Sunday in the life of the church was Pentecost. It is that time in the life of the praying community where we give thanks for the ways in which the Spirit of God has enlightened and lightens upon God's church. In that extraordinary experience of Pentecost as it is portrayed in the Gospels as well as in the book of Acts, where disciples are gathered together, they begin to speak in different languages, and those who are gathered, all nations of the world is the language that the writer uses in Acts. People understand their language, this extraordinary event. What I want to say in this forum about that text is, I think what it identifies at a very simple level that, and to use the vernacular, God speaks our language. God speaks my language. So there's something quite intimate about that. But at the very same time, there's this universal theme that runs throughout Luke Acts by the writer, and that is God is a God of all people. So God speaks the language of all people. My homily last Sunday, I used the language of, I said Leho. That is the language of God. It's the language of Chinese. 1.5 billion people in the world, that must be the language of God. I said Yazoo. That's the way God greets God's people. It is the language of the Greeks. It is a language which has history and culture and art and philosophy on its side. Surely that's the language of God. I said Oseho. That must be the way God bids greeting to God's people. It is the language of my own whakapapa, my ancestors, those of my heritage, the Cherokee. This must be the language of God. And then, of course, our own language of this, our three Tikanga Church in Aotearoa, New Zealand and Polynesia, Bula, Malo, Talofa, Namaste, G'day. That certainly is, those are the languages of God. The point is this: God speaks all of our languages. God also, in addition to that, uses body language and sign language. This is American Sign Language for hello, as well as, wait for it, generations X to Z, text language. Anything ever uttered, ever spoken, ever enunciated throughout time, today, and days to come is the language of God. And there also is something in this about who are God's people. And that's the beauty of that Acts experience. The writer identifies that God's people, that's far more expansive than many of us perhaps have thought in our lives. We all belong to God. In a sense, God belongs to us. So, Pentecost is a way of expanding our views, expanding our hearts to know that God is more and that God is a God of all people. It is that lovely universal theme which runs throughout unmistakably through Luke Acts. There's something for us to think about, something for us to consider and for which to give thanks and to acknowledge as we encounter anybody and everybody in our daily lives, as that's an occasion to learn something about God because we're having an experience, an encounter of God's people. All the best, OMGers. Look forward to speaking to you again. Take care. Cheers.